Good evening to one and all present here. The Finance and Investment Cell, Shri Ram College of Commerce, welcomes you all to another thought-provoking session under Shri Ram Financial Forum, an initiative where intriguing and interactive discussions take place with renowned industry experts. We feel ecstatic to have amongst us Mr. Aditya Rath. We welcome you, sir. Sir is a partner at KPMG and is based in Mumbai. He is focused on telecom, media, and technology industry verticals and leads the sales and marketing transformation function for the same. He has worked across the consulting space with expertise around customer experience, growth strategy, data monetization, and platform design strategies. He has more than 22 years of experience and has handled complex projects across nations and supported leadership teams of various businesses and MNCs. As a part of his leadership roles, he leads the Future of Sector program at KPMG, which serves as the think tank for devising customer life cycle strategy, customer acquisition, and customer experience design, including digital strategy. It is indeed our pleasure to have you with us today, sir, and we eagerly look forward to learning from your valuable insights.
Hey, thanks, Manasvi. Absolutely excited. And Anuja, you guys have done an excellent job of marking me out for the last 3 weeks. I've been a pain a little once in a while because just you don't get around writing emails pretty much throughout the day, and sometimes it slips. But I've been looking forward to doing this. I usually don't work on a Saturday, but this is something that you insisted that I do it on the Saturday and Sunday. So absolutely a pleasure to be here. So many of you have, I think your age and my number of years of experience match. So that's a good starting point for us. And I'll try to see if I make sense to you. Now, who are you talking to? Whatever Manasvi mentioned, that's my day job. What I do for living, and that's something that I've been passionate about. This is my 7th year at KPMG. Prior to that, about 9 odd years with PwC. The rest you can follow it on LinkedIn. What I do, and which is not there in LinkedIn, but you could move around and you will find about it, is I'm a long distance runner. So I run marathons and ultra marathons. That takes care of I'm an absolutely antisocial because I have long runs on Sundays, so I can't do Saturday nights. And Saturday I have training, so I can't do Friday nights. But yeah, I am. That's my passion. That absolutely defines who I am. I'm also a mentor within KPMG to mentor young partners. I'm old now, so pretty much, yeah, a lot of white hair out there. So that's something that is my passion. I'm married to Rajashri. She's my wife. She used to be my girlfriend way back. I don't even remember when, in class 11th. Yeah, so I haven't let go of her because I was very sure I'm not going to get a better one. And we got 2 girls at home. The younger one is in grade 10 and older one, so the younger one is in grade 5 and the older one is in grade 10. And then we have Aslan, who is a golden retriever, and he's the only other male member in the house. So that's family for me. That's what I do on the weekends. Now, this topic which I have chosen for some of you, I've given options for 2, and this was picked up by yourself. So don't complain if you guys don't find it interesting. Go back to your cell. They are the ones who picked it. Okay. But hey, you know what? This is a pretty interesting topic because this is a topic which you guys will face as soon as you come out of your college, or if you're picking up your next level of specialization for the courses that you're going to do. I have about 8-10 slides. I'm trying to get my other machine up so that I'd edited the slide that's just decided to kind of boot itself. But the slide deck is here. But before we go into the slide deck, you guys are comfortable with the chat window. How many of you have been playing around with this word called VUCA? You guys know what this word is, VUCA? I mean, you can just maybe write down on the chat window. That'll be great. If anybody does not know, then I can explain what it is, and then we can straight away jump into the topic. How many of you know this word called VUCA, VUCA? It's a pretty common word. It's been used and abused for some time now. So you should be getting a sense of it. Put it on the chat window. I can't see it at least, but if you don't know, that's going to be an interesting one. Nobody knows what VUCA is. I'm sure people would have Googled it. Are you guys usually a very silent set of people, or you guys are pretty chatty?
Sir, actually, they don't have the right to unmute, but they can chat.
Yeah, they can chat, right? So yeah, great. So I've not got a single response on VUCA. Oh yeah, there you go. Brilliant, Akansha. Thank you so much for putting up there. Volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. Absolutely. Now, what does this four-word mean? See, the human mind, whenever you talk of the human mind, we are processed to deal with a shock or with a sense of volatility for a certain very fixed period of time. For example, you would actually feel if you, let's say, you met with an accident, you know that that's an immediate trauma. Then there is a, if it's a medical attention, you know it's time bound. If it, unfortunately, it is a long term attention, you know that there is a long term attention. And then if it is not, then you know you come out of it, but you don't give away the fear. Most of us don't give away the fear of driving, riding, or something. You fall down, you trip and fall, you deal with it separately, right? Now that's that's the level of volatility that you could deal with. But when you are dealing with a pandemic, and as the pandemic sees no end, we don't have any memory. Nobody is an expert. Everybody is trying to learn and become an expert, right? That's the beauty of a pandemic. So in a pandemic, we say that we are all together in this. We're all in the same storm. We just are in different boats. That's all. We are all in the same storm, just in different boats. The volatility increases. We really, our mind doesn't process. The uncertainty of what's going to come in, that's changing. That's significantly changing. Brands where earlier you could not go and buy anything online for a brand because most of the brands used to either sell in a like an Amazon or a Flipkart. But today you can actually, brands are trying to reach to you directly. A significant change. Many of the brands, if you open up your I don't know, whatever is your popular social media platform, whether it's Instagram. I'm told you guys don't use Facebook. It used to be during our times. You guys more of the Instagram guys. And if Instagram is there, you'll see that a lot of smaller brands have come in who are doing direct to consumer. So they're trying to really cash on this uncertainty. It's pretty complex. Trust me, nobody is an expert. It's pretty complex because the dynamics are changing. The people who are buying are now looking for different kinds of inputs, and it continues to drive what I call is a huge amount of stress in the boardroom. Because if I had an experience of three pandemics, I could have looked at that and then decided what to do. But in my lifetime of consulting, or in my 22 years, 23 years of experience, I've never had the experience. So I'm also learning in this complex world. Why is it ambiguous? It is ambiguous because when you don't have the clarity of direction, when you don't have tools to really give you a definitive view, it is ambiguous. And the comfort with ambiguity is going to decide how good you are when you're dealing with real world problems. So these four are becoming what I call is your survival techniques as you navigate into academics, into business, into further studies, or by and large in general, to be able to pick and choose your battles as you take up your final year. I understand from some of you that you may not have seen the campus. Now, you didn't sign up for this, right? You absolutely did not sign up for this. Going to campus, learning through peer interactions, learning through physical emotions, and learning through what I call is the sudden change of environment was something very important, because body language is pretty critical. Communication is 70% body language, 20 to 30% is all about diction, or the words that I use and the tonality and all of that. But there is no body language. How much ever I emote on a small stamp size picture right here, that's all it is. You really don't know what I'm up to when I switch off my camera. So it is a very difficult world. So you understanding VUCA is very, very critical, and you need to have distinctions to do that. Now, why we chose this topic is that because I want you to guys to understand and prepare yourself mentally that what do great companies do and look for to deliver a great customer experience. So if you have the chat window, I just want you to put in names of brands whom you think have excellent customer experience. You love them. Just go ahead. Whatever brand comes to your top of your mind. Don't even think more than a second. Whatever brand. Yeah, Zomato. Excellent. You may have, that's perfect. Zomato, great customer experience. Food, what else? Come on, guys. Come on, everybody. We're going to need a little bit more energy. See, I'm a person who feeds your energy, okay? So I can't imagine that you guys are not having energy on Saturday evening. With 30 of us out there, so let's fill this up. Yeah, Amazon, yeah, Domino's, brilliant. These are absolutely awesome brands to be in. I still haven't seen one of the very famous phone brands out there. Everybody loves them, or at least, yeah, there you go, Apple. Yeah, that's it. Nehal, yeah, that's perfect. Now, many of these brands have something in common, and they constantly reinvent. And it's very critical for us as students to understand how these brands operate so that we could, when we take up pivotal positions, we actually understand how businesses are happening. And why is this important? Irrespective of whatever is your function, the customer, which is you and me, are now super powerful in this current era. We have a device, however small it is. This is the device. We all have it. We have other ways and mechanisms, whether it is a laptop or a desktop or an Alexa or a voice-based device. The devices are giving us the strength, and the devices are actually driving what we call is the next level of disruption for these brands. The next piece that is happening is people like Domino's. Uh, they are more e-commerce companies than an Amazon or anyone else. They can actually compare because they sell their products online. They are not opening up as many stores as they were when we were growing up, which means the brands themselves are becoming digital brands. People are launching in digital. How many of you have heard of this story of Plated Project? Have you seen the Plated Project? It's a beautiful. I'm going to put it on the chat. Do uh, take a look at it. This guy launched itself just before the pandemic. They do a very interesting piece. Every time you buy a plate, they actually put food on a needy's plate. It's a very beautiful concept. You can buy it for your family, or you can gift people. You can put your name. You can personalize. You can do whole bunch of stuff with them, and they actually drive this beautifully through that. Now, the kind of experience that they deliver to their customer is very different. It is an experience where you are doing it for purpose. So earlier, people used to do it only to position their brands. Now they're doing it with purpose. So brands are constantly reinventing themselves to be able to drive what I call is a throughput, and that throughput is where the money is getting made. Okay, so with that, I'm going to start sharing a bunch of slides, which I thought are going to be good inputs for you guys so that you guys can take a look at them and let me know if you guys start seeing it. And we will go full screen the moment the slides shows up. Is it showing up for you guys?
Slides are not yet visible, but yeah, it is showing that you are starting to share content. Yes, sir, it's visible now.
Great. It's visible? Perfect, brilliant. So orchestrating experiences, which is exactly this is a 2021 report. You guys can download it, read about it. It's a big report. I've taken certain excerpts out of this report. I'm trying to get my other machine up here so that we could. I'd made some edits in this presentation, which I intend to kind of share with you. But in case that doesn't show up, we will continue with these slides any which way. Give me a second. Yeah, give me 1 second. Okay, the other because I made some edits and I found those edits to be very powerful. Otherwise, I'm just going to do a voiceover on that. But if you can give me 1 second, let me see
No
if I
issues, sir.
can. Yeah, let me see if this can be. I'm going to be logging in from two computers so that. I'm just going to put myself on a mute for a second here. Okay. Let me see if this guy allows me to share. Yeah. Okay, it's not. I'm going to. Okay, I'm going to use this. This laptop is not scheduling to. It's not allowing me to share it. But anyway, I'm going to read through some of these. Uh, what we intend to do is that we do this report across multiple countries. India, we do slightly different, but there's 26 countries. We look at almost nearly 3,000 brands, about 89,000 customers that we go into streets and we pick up references. And and we do quite a bit of brand evaluation, almost a million plus evaluations that we do. So it's pretty powerful, it's pretty empirical. So it is not something that KPMG or anybody in KPMG has done on top of the hat. And what it tells is these are the top headlines that it comes in. There is a rapid acceleration and adoption of emotionally connective new technologies in the field of AI ML. uh, Almost every brand today is using hardcore tech. So if you guys don't understand this, it's actually going to be very detrimental for your careers. You got to have at least two levels of understanding. Level one of understanding is, what does AI ML mean? What does Bitcoins mean? What does metaverse mean? What does blockchain mean? You got to understand the basics. That's level one, which is a definition, a bit of the tech behind it, and what are the key players. The level two is that, what are some of the use cases which are relevant from your areas of interest? Now, use cases are typically in the industry that you want to play. Suppose somebody wants to get into retail, somebody wants to get into financial services or fintech. It's extremely important because almost all brands are now going to use AI ML extensively to drive their businesses. You have been lately observing that people are opening stores in the metaverse. That's a big news. Whether it's fad, whether it's reality, only time will say. But there is significant amount of news that is coming in from that space. So you got to be very very certain that when somebody says that Amitabh Bachchan is in the metaverse opening a store, or Zara or H&M is in the metaverse, what do they mean? And if you are in the finance function, it actually means yeah, huge amount of complexity for you, because you got to understand, how do you make money, or how do you account for that money getting in that space. So that's one a big change, sorry, that's happening. The other big change which is happening in the space, which is customer journeys, provide the framework for integrating technology and physical experiences. Digital is no longer a separate consideration. Now, when we say journey, what we mean is that when we say journey, is that we are meaning that you got to start somewhere and you got to stop somewhere, which means, for example, you actually start shopping from your phone, but you stop there, you put everything on the cart, and you go to the store and you log in and say that, hey, my cart is ready, I'm just here to pick up stuff. Now that means it's an online and an offline journey. Today, you go to any fashion retailer in India, most of the major fashion retailers would allow you to shop online and pick up on store. Many of them would ask you to also, that you can go and shop at the store and ask them to get delivered at home. Now, these are extremely complex journeys. These are not pretty straightforward journeys which are across the table. These are also great opportunities to make additional revenue on with the customer when brands look at it. So your understanding of this customer journey is significant if you are going to look at how do you look at advertising as a function, how do you look at sales as a function, how do you look at supply chain as a function, because your goods have to move as fast as the customer is moving. A number of moving parts, significant implications for the management of cross-channel experiences and capability requires high levels of orchestration. Just imagine Zomato. How complex. Many of you said that Zomato is actually one of your best experiences. Look at the complexity. The person is standing there. There is a restaurant where you have ordered. There's a whole bunch of menu cards which are displayed. This person is constantly on the move. There is an optimum temperature on all the security condition. There's a food temperature. You don't want your food to be cold, so it is slightly different than grocery delivery or slightly different than Amazon delivery, quite different. And you got to get this rider safely to you. Now, these would require several levels of orchestration, well documented. Remember, the VUCA world is very complex. These are complex problems to solve. And this is complex both in terms of people understanding how they're making money as well as how the valuation is happening. Because the valuation is happening because people believe that they would actually solve a larger problem going forward. The other fourth big headline, which is happening in the last 12 to 18 months, is that organizations are having to create an environment where new thinking, technologies, and approaches can be successful. Which means that no organization today actually can survive. Uh, no organization today can actually survive by being fixated that I have a fixed way of dealing, which means that organizations have to be agile. And that's what the biggest problem today is, that if you are joining a large organization, your ability to transform remains a question mark. Now, case in point, if you look at two organizations, which is Reliance Industries and Geo constantly transformed the way telecommunication companies in India are seen. Now, with an Airtel and a Vodafone, it was very, very difficult, right? And Airtel and a Vodafone had their own problems because they were seen as conventional telco companies. But a Geo, which was born in the digital era, thinks and solves problems differently. Versus the parent company, Reliance Industries, which is how problems are getting solved there, are not the same way as Geo is getting solved, as they're getting solved in Geo. And hence, you've got to be thinking of new technologies and approaches. And eventually, it requires business to be connected, digitally powered, and trusted. I'm going to go to the first two are mostly something that I've explained, but the last word is trusted is in cyber. You are entering businesses where the cyber crime rates are much, much higher. So as and within your function or within your areas of specialization in the financial domain, this is catastrophic, because your complexities would mean that if there is one level of fraud at the top end of the spectrum, you would actually have a cascading effect. Your reputation can get damaged, you lose millions, and this is and there is no secret about it that there are people who are working only to make this as a business. So that's those are the top 5 trends that I wanted you to think and keep in mind as you navigate the space. uh, and why this is important, and that's why COVID-19 has actually just made this much more faster now. This whole disruption has reached you faster than what it could have or what it should have. Ideally, this would have, I don't know if SRCC was ready with an online platform uh, I mean, earlier, when was it? March 2020, right? I mean, I don't even know if you guys were ready. We were not ready. We used to have with Cisco WebEx, but that was a plan B or a plan C. We did not even have Microsoft Teams, or we defaulted to Zoom. And when we had the leakage issues with Zoom, we defaulted to Teams. So large organizations never did collaborative workforce. We never had hybrid. Today, hybrid is the way to work. So what is happening is this whole level of orchestration is driving a whole bunch of opportunities for you guys. So do not undermine what is happening purely as a way, but try to look at use cases where you could capitalize and you could take pivotal positions. Okay? Moving forward, what are we talking here? We are saying that this orchestration requires a customer experience strategy, because the kind of budgets you are needing, the kind of, as organization, the kind of experience that you want to deliver is very unique. Zomato never recorded the temperature or needed to record the temperature 2 years back. They was there. So with Swiggy and Zomato, they're there. Ola did not want you to know the cab's sanitization condition before you are entering that, whether it's an auto or a car. Now, those require extra effort to understand what is the customer asking for, who is the customer, what are the needs. And that sensitivity is very critical to your understanding. The journey management process I mentioned about online, offline. Now imagine there's going to be a lockdown at whatever time, the governments might decide to control the cases. How does these brands operate? How do you operate? All of us have lived through these lockdowns, and we have a very unique style of dealing with it. The journey would become suddenly complex. uh, and each journey is differently has to be stored. Senior citizen, for example, their journeys are very different versus you and me. We are all staying in the same family, but your level of patience is very different to what your parents' level of patience is, right? And they are both different journeys. They can sit and they can wait for something with 45 minutes. You say, hey, it has to be there for 10 minutes. And that's making organizations realize, for example, groceries. Now you see ads in your newspapers for 10 minutes delivery, 15 minutes delivery. Earlier, we were happy to get a free pizza in 30 minutes. Now, look at this change, and that's all happening right here. And that's extremely complex because you got to manage the finances, you got to manage the budgets for these kinds of changes, because these kinds of changes have to make monetary sense. Boss, यहाँ पे कोई charity नहीं बैठा हुआ है. I'm not going to make these journeys and look at look at the blue sky and say, you know what, tomorrow I'm going to make money. No, there's heavy investments in these businesses, so it has to make financial sense. Experience design itself is very complex. I would urge each one of you to pick up at least one course in Coursera or in LinkedIn or whichever digital online courses you have on digital marketing. As finance head guys, you've got to understand digital marketing, because digital marketing is going to be a single most critical element of changing journeys and creating that customer connect, because that's where the promise is being told to the customer, and your sales guys and your products are delivering that. So those are some of the critical changes when you look at how do you orchestrate. I'm not going to go into all of them. More than happy. This is a busy slide. What I'm going to do is that I'm going to give you a minute to just absorb this slide. Okay, just take a minute to absorb the slide before I going to explain what it is. So in the middle are the four significant blocks that any organization will look at. You have a block for culture, processes, technology, and people. On the left hand side is the world which we know, and on the right hand side is the world that we are living in or we're going to live in. Almost daily it is changing. I've tried to depict them as a comparison, okay, so that you know how it is actually moving from the left to right, because these are the kind of skills and capabilities that you as fresh graduates or you as master students would be expected to be aware of. And in some cases, if you have additional degrees, if you have additional certifications, people will love to latch upon you, because this is where we guys, when we go to campus, I'm a part of all the premier colleges in India, campus selection of postgraduate programs, whether it is the IIMs or otherwise. And I constantly ask use cases on the right hand side. We never bothered about the left, because that's what your colleges, you guys are all from brilliant schools, brilliant colleges, your grades are speaking about that. But what we really want is that your ability to sense the future, your ability to reimagine the future. And that is, trust me, your capability and my capability are almost at the same vertex. I don't believe that I have anything special to think of a new operating model which you can't, because you guys are far more stronger in sensing and feeling. So take a minute, just go through this, and then we're going to jump in right away into explaining what it is. Okay. Uh, How does it work, Manasvi, in terms of question, Anuja? They can post it on the chat because I don't get to see the chat. But if you have questions, if you want me to go slow, guys, folks, let me know, okay? Because I would love to. I'm somebody who loves to interact because otherwise it becomes pretty much a boring monologue, right? And we started about 10 minutes late. I'll try to finish off on time. We are scheduled till 8, right?
Yes, sir.
Can we hang in for 10 more minutes?
Yes, sir, no issues. We can do that. And if we receive any questions from the chat, we'll let you know.
Brilliant, great. So give us more questions that because that way I will know that I'm making sense to you. Okay, if you look at culture, we are moving from bureaucratic to rule based into algorithm driven, which means machines are going to decide. Now machines are learning. Don't kid yourself. The moment you talk to anybody in Zomato, you use a bot, machines are constantly learning how you are behaving. It takes few years for these machines to learn. There is something called increment, but now you are going to see a much more creative and innovative way of doing it. People are not looking at creative cultures only; they're also looking at very innovative cultures, and that is driving. Choose your organizations widely when you go to campus, because you should ask these organizations what's their innovation strategy. I sit on the innovation council at KPMG. We meet 4 startups every month. We bring them in, we mentor some of them we have alliances where we take them to market. So we have a very strong culture around innovation processes. Offline with a digital channel, having an app, was having a website, those are not a big deal. Digital is now integrated with offline. Your digital is absolutely integrated with offline. You can give several examples. Your medicine examples are great. Medicine delivery, because it's absolutely integrated at the heart and soul of it. Customer journeys as methods. So customer journey is a way of life now. It's no more a method. What journey you will take is very unique, individual to anyone else in this group. And I, as a brand, I have to create that. If you go into technology, people were ready to do ad hoc technologies, a bit of isolated AI, ML. Somewhere somebody has done a little bit of a bot. For example, SBI was a great is a great tool. Kotak 9811 was a great tool. But those were all the one-off examples that were there. But now it is far more integrated. There is a lot of building. There's a lot of data science which is there. There's one more course that I would strongly recommend each one of you to pick up, data science as one of, and you should have the fundamental knowledge of what is the data science capability, because it's going to give you a huge amount of understanding of how these technologies are interplaying. People management, a lot of gig economy is actually happening now, which means that people don't want to work for the full time. They actually want to work for a very specific period of time, and they just want to do maybe two jobs at two different point in time, because that's what it is. Now you could explore some of these with organizations which are allowing these kind of. We are actually very strongly going ahead and hiring gig workforce, from different walks of life. So there is a significant change from to to, and it's important for you to understand that what it means for your organization or the organizations that you guys are going to look at when you are to join, or you are when you are evaluating them for anywhere in terms of your association. So these are the 6 fundamental pillars of customer experience. I've discussed the changes in the world. We've discussed the trend. We've discussed what it takes. Uh, yeah, Kushi, hold on a second. That's a lovely question. Let me pull that out, Kushi. Uh, the question is, what are some of the key factors that affect customer experience in the current times? And Kushi, you are absolutely on the money. These are the 6 factors that are affecting customer experience at these times. And you can take a note of it. It's called empathy, personalization, time and effort, expectation, resolution, and integrity. These are the top 6 that you could use for to understand the factors that are affecting customer experience. Uh, we'll straight away jump into explaining what it is. We'll start with integrity. Okay, I'll give you an example. In India, we confuse integrity with morality. Don't confuse integrity with morality. Integrity is, okay, I'll give you a very interesting example, which somebody was my coach gave me. My wife, let's say, asked me not to smoke, but I go out and smoke. Integrity is coming back and looking into her eye and telling, I did a mistake. I smoked behind your back. That's integrity. Morality is something different. Morality is to do something which is morally wrong. Cheating, beating up somebody for no reason. Even if you have reason, that's wrong. So that's the difference between morality. And in customer experience terms, integrity is if the brand has said that I'm going to deliver something to you in 15 minutes, if they cannot, they must come and apologize to you. It's a very, very difficult trait to have. The item was supposed to be delivered at 9 o'clock to you. If it is not delivered to 9 o'clock, what does the brand do? It does not sit till you come back to it. That's not integrity. That is loss of integrity. You will move on. Integrity is very closely related to the purpose. And as leaders, you will need to understand this very, very clearly from day zero. If you lose your integrity, it will take you forever to build it. This is one of the toughest lenses to really play it. And that's why the brands that you mentioned, they have very high score of integrity in your minds. You trust Domino's that the pizza would be made by a person who is wearing a glove. You're not going and seeing it, right? It's purely trust. They're not sending a picture of that pizza when it is getting made. You are trusting Zomato now with your delivery. You know that they come in with a sealed pack. So every time there is a video of a guy eating from Zomato delivery guy eating, it hurts their integrity. Resolution. Uh, Resolution is a far more here and now problem that brands face. I'm going to use the S word very cautiously. When you're doing millions and millions of delivery, S will happen. Guys, fill in the blanks what the S word is, okay? There would be somebody who would be unhappy. There would be somebody who would be unhappy because there would be something which will fail. The idea is not to beat yourself just when something failed. You go back and analyze where it failed. But how do you fix it? How do you fix it and how do you give the customer a wow? That's why no questions asked returns. If you return, I'm not going to ask you any question. If you return to me in the packaging that you've given me, my delivery guy is just going to pick it up. I'm not going to ask you because I trust you. Brands trust you, so they want to make sure that if something has gone wrong in their experience, they want to fix it. And that's called a trusted relationship. That's fundamental. Expectation. Always remember that expectation comes with a price point. If you are expecting your Domino's pizza to come in at that price point and be warm and you want to eat it, or your Zomato delivery has to be perfect, then that's the expectation that Zomato has to deliver from customer experience. Understanding that expectation is very critical. Articulating that expectation is very critical. Do not believe that it can just be a part of what I call is by the way. No. There are great brands like Apple which have understood the expectation. The design of the store and the design of the website is exactly the same. I don't know if you know that. The Apple store, if anybody has walked out, they don't have in India, but if you've seen outside, of course, the dealerships in India have a very Maple and others have very similar stores, but they're nowhere close to Apple designs. But the Apple store and the Apple website are designed in the same way because that's the expectation. They don't want anybody coming between you and the product. That's the idea. So that you can really quench your expectation. Okay? So these are the three on this side. The other side is empathy. Empathy is one of the toughest after integrity. One of the toughest to do. Empathy is to feel and understand how your experience is making the customer feel. The customer you have to anticipate the feeling of a wrong delivery. You have to anticipate the feeling of a luxurious delivery. You have to anticipate a lot of things which are human behavior. Now, that's important to differentiate between brands. The brands which are stronger with empathy, people are going to connect with them for the life. Maruti, exceptionally strong empathy. They understand Indian automobile buyer. They understand he is a value buyer. An Alto car, it may not be the fanciest and the sexiest car around, but it's actually sold the most in India because it understands the need of value. And that's the empathy which they carry into their service center. Empathy is not just lip service or writing or it's a very, very difficult term which actually encompasses a lot of other elements. Personalization, you guys are all born in the world of personalization. You want everything personalized in your own way. Your web pages, your documents, your journeys, your Instagrams, your handles, everything is personalized. Now, personalization is tough because it does not, it means n equals to 1, which means if there are a million customers, it could have to be personalized million is to 1, and brands are perfecting it. Amazon is known as the guru of personalization. Netflix, it actually keeps its AI engine keeps understanding what kind of movies or periodicals or journals or documentaries you're adding, and it keeps recommending you. That's the binge. That's the nasha as they call it. That's the heart of it is personalization is theory. And then finally, time and effort. If you're going to spend a whole bunch of time on my website and the effort is too high, I'm not going to stick around. Or in my store, the time and effort has to be always based on your emotional and cognitive effort it takes. You can't keep searching. That's why Netflix makes those logos big. Okay, we've got one more question. I'm going to first take the previous question of who. Okay. Okay, Kushi, did this make sense? These are some of the key factors. If it yes, Kushi, then just type in, and I'm going to go to Chaitanya's question. Okay, there are many small businesses which are providing services that are customized and try to make the services more personalized while providing the other 5 pillars as well. Yet they don't bloom. Why is that? Excellent question, Chaitanya. Uh, the problem about small businesses is the narration and the story. Stories sell. If the small businesses are able to narrate their stories powerfully to customers and co-create them with customers, then their sales engine will start building much more faster than what a large businesses do. Apple has a story. Apple builds that euphoria and then backs it up with the delivery. It's not just lip service, okay? They back it up with delivery. The problem with small businesses is that small businesses live with a balance of how much money I have and how quickly I need to move. Hence, I gave you the example of the plated project. You see, Facebook for business, there are all of them have it. Instagram for business, they actually are promoting small businesses to be able to bring in the narration of storytelling. So, Chaitanya, thanks to your question, I'm going to ask you guys to do a course on storytelling. There are hundreds of courses, but do a course on storytelling. It will be a very powerful concept to make the impact of what you bring to the table, whether in your presentation, whether in your narration, whether in your diction, whether in your leadership style. Stories are what customers buy. And if I back it up with a great customer experience, then I am going to make that dent. The other problem with small businesses is that small businesses don't necessarily use data, Chaitanya. They use interactions. Today, data and interactions have to be jointly used. You've got to sit with so much of data, but what are you doing with that data? You've got to have some data scientists, and they are expensive. Okay, so small businesses don't, unfortunately, they don't have that depth of scale. So if you see the new age small businesses, they're actually spending a lot of time with on data scientists to be able to do this. So Chaitanya, those are the two reasons why they don't bloom. Does this make sense to you? If yes, do put it in the chat and then we will proceed. Okay. Super. Okay, the key statistics. Personalization remains a clear driving pillar of loyalty, leading in 21 out of the 26 markets. Personalization is big globally. Okay, I'm giving you global statistics. I'm not, so I give you the gyan, but here are the numbers. Okay, the gyan alone will not make sense. You guys are smart kids. Integrity remains the pillar driving advocacy across the majority of markets, 16 of the 26. Integrity, tell me the truth. Uh, uh, you know, uh, Nearly two-thirds of the customers are willing to pay more to a company that they see as being ethical or giving back to community. If they know that you are doing something good for the community, customers are willing to pay more. Okay, whenever you're standing in the till, if you go to an H&M, you go to a Zara, you go to a Forever 21, you see that whenever you're billing, they are having a message for you. Give me $100 on your bill, give me $20 for this. They really want you to connect, and you're more than happy to give that on top of your bill. Non-grocery retail dominates the 2021 Hall of Fame, which is non-grocery retail. Grocery, one can understand, 10 of 26 band, followed by financial services, travel and hotels. Despite being a very tough year for travels and hotels, they are in the top Hall of Fame. And Thailand and Romania saw the largest increases in customer experiences, an increase of 3 to 2 and 2% respectively. Versus why are we bringing that in? These are smaller countries. Remember, the larger countries, we will not see that much of a difference because the brands have done things to survive. Uh, this is how the Hall of Fame looked. The India report will be out in March. I'll be more than happy to share as and when it comes out. We have just started the preliminary primary research right at this time. I'm going to take a pause, and what I'm going to do is that I'm going to give you four mantras of what top companies do. Okay. This was one slide which is not there on this laptop, but there are five things that I want you to write down if you can. Willingness to be misunderstood for a long time. Have the courage as an industry leader to be misunderstood for a long time. Example, Kindle was ridiculed. Smart bulbs were ridiculed. Alexa was ridiculed when they came out. There was no market for them, but they all made it big. They've all made it as a part of our lifestyle. The willingness to be misunderstood. Bias for action. Don't be all about gyan. Take the action. You have to have a very clear focus on action. What will you do if you are the CFO of Domino's to say that how do you actually make it a viable proposition to deliver within 30 minutes? Imagine somebody took that action. Understand who is the customer. Don't do some generic stuff. Generic stuff, times are gone. Then you are like this kirana which is opening in, people will walk in, which means you will have this 100 family. मैं इधर ही बैठा है अंधेरी में, in and around अंधेरी is my life, my world. So don't expect any big shit happening there. Say it simple. Keep it very, very simple. Attention span of your customer is less than a goldfish. If you think you are doing left, right, your customer is also swiping left, right. Don't make it any complicated than it requires to be. And the first is work backwards is the process. Always work backwards, which means, and Amazon does it best. You know what Amazon does? Before they start thinking of a product, they first think of the press release. What am I going to say to the press? And they work backwards. Think how my customer is going to react to it and then work backwards. These are the five principles that I wanted to leave you with. I'm pretty much on the money. We are sharp 8 o'clock. We started about 8-9 minutes late. And then we had a minute when I was trying to toggle between two presentations. We can use this 10 minutes, or I can give you these 10 minutes back so that you guys can have a lovely Saturday evening. But this is more or less what I wanted to share. Happy to kind of go back. There is I can send you the actual global report. So just let me know. It's a link you can download from the website and read the global report. but that's the orchestrating in the VUCA world. Over to you guys.
Thank you so much, sir. It was truly an enriching and informative session for all of us. So we actually have received a great number of questions from students at the time of registration. So we would like to ask some of them from you.
All of them.
Okay, sir. So the first question is, what are the measures or techniques you employ to identify and categorize each component of the VUCA in any given situation?
Yeah. So we may not have, this is a pretty longish one, but if you look at each component of VUCA, and I'm going to give you one measure for it. On volatility, one of the measures on volatility that you should look at is on a scale is on the time scale. Is it a volatile for a larger duration of time, or is it volatility which is recent or nearby? So look at a 90-day window for a particular trend or a particular situation to be volatile, and look at the variables in two fashions, which are controllable and uncontrollable variables. Controllable variables, so let's say product input cost, you really can't do much with that, right? You could not do, but you could do something with your own cost structures, using your admin cost or your facility cost, because there is a volatility in demand, for example, or suppliers input cost. So always try to have that bucket between that. Uncertainty is a very difficult one to deal with. For uncertainty, the way to deal with it is that break the uncertainty, and I'm going to take the same for complexity. Break this problem till you bring it to what I call is a finite problem to solve. The uncertainty would be there because the customer order, let's say, is frequenting, because there's an uncertainty in the let's say in the political climate or in the socio-economic climate, and this uncertainty is leading to what we call is a disproportionate problem at the planning stage. Suppose you are an industrial manufacturing place, so try to break this problem into smaller problems, chunks which you can solve in again in a 90-day period. I learned this pretty early from Mr. Kamath, who was then ICICI chairman, and I was an assistant manager, where he used to tell us, and I used to write notes. He used to tell, as big is the problem and those days VUCA was not a term. He used to tell, break the problem into a 90-day problem. If you can fix and deliver something in 90 days, you have it well covered. Ambiguity, you would have a tough one to close on ambiguity, because you go to get comfortable with ambiguity. So the measure on ambiguity is that what is the customer going to pay for? Anything which the customer is not going to pay for, make it as priority to. Do not, so work backwards from outside in. That's how I would break that, Anuja. But this will require a longer answer because there's a whole bunch of KPIs that you would have to deal with in the VUCA world.
Thank you, sir. So the next question is, do companies frame an all-encompassing strategy to tackle the four components of VUCA together, or they formulate separate strategies to deal with each factor?
They formulate, so companies formulate their strategies based on all the components, but they deal and attack with them based on how critical is one. I could live with ambiguity for the longest duration of time. I don't need to focus on it because everybody in the industry is looking at it. But I can't deal with the complexity because the complexity is originated by, let's say, internal processes. Or the volatility is originated because my suppliers, I don't have great suppliers, right? So I would focus on that. Or let's say there is uncertainty in the socio-economic environment. Let's say there's an election approaching, or there is this pandemic which is going to go on and off. I would need to deal with this uncertainty. I really don't know if a state government in Kerala is going to switch off, or a state government in Maharashtra is going to switch off. And that uncertainty and volatility is going to drive everybody in the market. But what I can do is that I can drive the complexity of holding stock with my stockist much better. So they look at what is again in their complex. They have strategies for each of them, but they attack the one which they could actually control the most. Great examples is the semiconductor problem. If you see, some companies are doing better than others because they understood that there is going to be a problem with the global supply chain not working the way it could have. Luckily, the governments have not reacted as badly as they did in the second wave because it was a far severe wave. But we got to brace ourselves for some uncertainty coming in the few weeks.
Okay, sir. So the last question is, which practices that corporations have adopted to enhance customer experience in the pandemic are likely to stay post-pandemic as well?
Yeah, a very good question, Anuja. Two practices which will remain forever. One is direct to customer, which means that the customer would like to reach you more and more directly. The brands would like to reach the customers more and more directly. They would like to cut the middle person. They would have that option. Don't get me wrong. You would have a mall or a kirana or somebody reaching through this, but there is a direct to customer available, and it's going to be much more prevalent, far more stronger, and it will be pretty. They would like to create their own experiences and deliver. The other is what I call is the digital operating models. Customers just having an app or having a website are not going to call themselves digital. Digital is now going to be a part of a very significant operating model. So their physical and digital will be very much fused, and it will be one and the same. So those two would be critical, and they will remain the way it is. And you will have more of technology. Use of AI will be very, very common. Use of machine learning will be very, very common now in the next few years, if you see. And we are yet to see yet to see what Web 3.0 is going to do, because it's just taking shape in India. So wait and watch.
Thank you so much, sir, for all the answers. As the session draws to an end, the time spent learning and gaining insights from an experienced person and a change maker like you seems to be very less. And not only have all the avid minds today gained knowledge, but also have drawn inspiration from your thoughts and work and ignited a spirit of creating impact of the world we live in. I take this opportunity to thank you, sir, for all the time and such an for such an amazing session.
Hey, thank you so much, all of you. Thanks, Nehal. I really appreciate staying back on a Saturday evening. You guys had other options. So thank you so much. More than happy to connect on LinkedIn, as in when you guys feel free to connect. If there are some reports, thanks, everybody, for being here. You guys are in an absolutely brilliant place. You guys have some amazing time coming your way. So all the very best, and do reach out whenever I can. I'll be of help. I'll be more than willing to do.